My boss at Emirates was very pro-change. And when he hired me, he basically said, you have a blank check. My colleague who's the head of PR and social media, she did an amazing campaign with Casey. That video got, I don't know what the count is now.
75 million.
75 million.
75 million. 75 million views.
That's a good stat. We are a holistic teaching and learning platform that covers all subjects and it really prepares kids for the 21st century. People pay a premium for Apple because it looks good, but it also works. It's different. It's simple. And we are very similar to that.
Intuitive, yeah. Welcome to the Change Officer podcast. We are all witnesses that this pandemic took many tolls on many different sides. But one of the tolls is definitely education system not being able to adapt. Today, we have an amazing story about how one platform can help disrupt education industry and help teachers find their way in these challenging times. I'm very glad that we'll be also talking about Casey Neistat just a little bit, but stick with us and enjoy the episode. But before that, make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel if you are watching us on YouTube, or follow us on LinkedIn or Instagram or any other platform that you are following us. Let's see this episode. So, hi Alex, and thank you very much for coming to the Change podcast.
Thanks for having me.
We usually start this podcast with one simple question. When somebody tells you the word change, what is the first thing that you think about?
For me, change means opportunity. And I've always looked at change as a very positive thing. It's a necessity because everything around you changes and the world changes constantly. But to me, it's an opportunity. I've always embraced change and actually looked for change very actively.
So you take it as a positive thing, definitely.
Definitely, very positive.
Yeah. This is what we want to discuss. Let's start with your journey, and we can say journey because you were in journey business before and now in education business. We'll talk about the change later, but let's start from the beginning and say a few things about you, what you did before you're doing what you're doing now.
Sure. So I'm originally German. I studied in Germany and I always wanted to live internationally and travel a lot. So already when I was studying, I spent time abroad. So I lived in the US for a year and a half, lived in Spain for a year. And then immediately after I was done with university, I started working internationally and was really moving countries every 3 to 6 months. For 3-4 years, which was great. Spent time in Mexico, Indonesia, Africa. And then actually accepted a job in South America, and then spent 3 years in South America, in Venezuela and in El Salvador. Mm-hmm. And then from there I moved to Australia with my wife, and then spent 5 years in Australia, then moved to Singapore, and then to Dubai. So it's a bit of a journey.
72 years old.
Yeah, it sounds like.
Yeah. Okay. But in Singapore, you worked in airline companies, yeah?
In Australia and in Singapore, I worked for airlines, yeah. And then I moved to Dubai to start a new job at Emirates.
Emirates. So you were in this airline business. Which kind of business you were in these airlines?
In marketing and e-commerce.
Marketing and e-commerce. Okay. And then when did you arrive in Dubai?
In Dubai, I arrived in 2015. Started working for Emirates as the SVP for digital. Okay.
Senior Vice President for digital marketing, yeah.
For basically anything customer-facing digital. So for our website, our mobile app, our digital marketing, our analytics, our products, so digital product user experience.
How was that change? Let's talk about change a little bit. How was that change coming from Singapore to Dubai? People tend to compare those two cities really often. Both of them are safe, nice to live. A lot of people would like to visit or live there, here or there. And how was that change for you from Singapore to Dubai?
Well, Singapore is a very beautiful city, and we loved our time there. But I definitely prefer Dubai because I love outdoors, and I love the desert here, and I love the mountains. And Singapore is very urban. You're basically on an island, and it's all high rises and a lot of beautiful gardens, but it's all very well preserved and a lot of rules. In Dubai, I really enjoy that. You can go out.
Like a German, you like everything by the book, yeah.
Yeah, here I like the nature, and I like the desert a lot. So I spend a lot of time in the desert camping.
Yeah. Okay, and then job-wise, was it a big change from the position you had in Tiger Air and?
It was a big change because previously, also in Australia, I worked for not small companies, but I would say medium-sized companies, so maybe $1 billion in sales. Mm-hmm. And then Emirates is big. Emirates is a very large company. 100,000 staff and 27 billion revenue US. So it's a really, really big company. Yeah. And for me, that was a big adjustment to go more from a fast-paced culture into a very corporate culture. But I was very lucky. My boss at Emirates was very pro-change. Mm-hmm. And when he hired me, he basically said, you have a blank check. You can, create your new team, you can change people, you can change processes. I will be very supportive and protect you. And, I want to be a leader when it comes to digital. So, off you go. I want more online sales. I want to have the best mobile app. I want to have great analytics and, make it happen. And that helped me a lot to drive a lot of change at Emirates.
People would say, and especially people who live in Dubai know that Emirates is one of the companies that is running this country, and moving this country, and many people would say, okay, that's my dream job. I'm there. I like it, but somehow you didn't stay there. How do you find it?
Well, I spent 6 years there, so which is quite a long time. And Emirates for me was a dream job. It's an amazing brand, an amazing product. People love the brand and the product. And after 6 years, I felt I needed a new challenge. That's why I started looking for a change. Because if you have done the same role for 5 or 6 years and you have made lots of change, you get to a stage where it becomes more business as usual and your learning curve becomes quite flat again. So I was keen to embrace a new big challenge, something that it really.
Did you find a new challenge or challenge found you? How it happened?
Yeah, that's always a bit of both. I think usually that. I was definitely, after 5-6 years, open for a new challenge. And then I got also approached a lot about possible new challenges. Mm-hmm. And I was looking for a smaller company where I could also invest in, ideally owned by private equity, where I could have a lot of control over the destiny. And I was also looking for a company that had a big growth opportunity. I was really looking for a sort of a larger startup or small scale up, basically.
What is for you? What is the difference between startup and scale up? How do you make this?
For me, the difference that a startup is you build a product and you validate the business and you scale it to a certain extent where you have a revenue base, you have a team. And you understand the commercial opportunity. And then scale up to me is when you already have sizable revenue and you're really going for either global or multi-regional. You go after very big numbers.
Okay, we mentioned one of your friends with interesting story. Back in Singapore, you have a friend that likes to stick to this startup, let's say, phase of the business. What is his approach to business and building businesses?
His approach is he starts businesses and basically runs them as startups for 2-3 years. But then he focuses very strongly on finding an exit opportunity. And he has done that now twice, and he's now in his third venture.
Wow.
And both exits were sizable exits. So he's basically seeing opportunities and then building a business for 2-3 years and then exiting it. And then he starts the new one.
What is his key skill? Let's say, what is you think he does so good? Because as you told me, there were different businesses. One was hospitality. One was business co-working or something like that. And what is the key of his success, would you say?
I would say the key of his success is being a very good businessman and a very good salesman. So he always takes on board a very good CTO and a good head of product. And they actually build the product. And he makes sure strategically it goes in the direction he wants to move to, and then starts already thinking about the exit.
How do you find his approach? How do you find his approach? It's interesting. This is something that...
it's very interesting.
Yeah.
And I'm sure with his current company, he again will be very successful because he innovates very quickly and he builds very interesting products really quickly. And a lot of big companies are looking for that. So his first company was bought by a big travel company out of the US. Mm-hmm. And the second company was bought by a shared office space, the largest shared office space company out of the US. Yeah. And now his most recent venture is a fintech.
Wow. So that is the direction. So we, we plan of having this podcast also filmed in Singapore. Once we do there, for sure, we'll ask for his contacts.
For sure.
I think he will be a really, really good guest to inspire our viewers and not only audience, but also us in what he's doing and how
he's one of the people I look up to because he started very humble. He has always been very successful through his career, but he's a very normal, to-the-ground person who just has a passion for, creating businesses.
Wow.
But then going through the whole cycle and then repeating it over and over again.
During your time in Emirates, what were your, let's say, favorite thing to do? Because you were in sales and marketing, so many interesting campaigns you probably had. Which one would you select and say, oh, this one was really good to do and was interesting?
Our brand marketing team, they did as you would know, the big sort of Jennifer Anderson, the big sort of hero campaigns, which I loved the first Jennifer Anderson campaign.
Yeah.
But then we also did a lot of really great social media campaigns. So my colleague who's the head of PR and social media, she did an amazing campaign with Casey.
Casey Neistat.
Yeah, and that was fantastic. And that video got... I don't know what the count is now.
25 million, around 25 million now.
It will be higher.
Really?
Yeah. And there were several videos. I think they would be up
with him,
40, 50, 60 million. Yeah. So they were great. And I really also loved the Jetman, which was,
What was the story about Casey? Casey being one of my favorite YouTubers. How this story went by? He travels a lot with a plane and...
he flies a lot, and he was traveling. He bought his own ticket from New York to Sydney to attend a YouTube event, and Google had given us a heads up that he's traveling, and then we,
75 million. Sorry,
75 million.
75 million. 75 million views. That's
a good start. And he was really, he loved the product, so he filmed himself in the shower and in the bar. And then cut it all together to really engaging video. He then also later produced a video in Dubai on a stopover. Then later produced another video on another trip. So he became quite an Emirates fan.
No, he really made this video. He says, I searched the price of a first class flight from JFK to Dubai. And it's $21,000, and that this is how he's starting video. What is interesting with Casey? He's one of the best storytellers in the world, but he always says, with what is the camera you film with? And he says the best I have at the moment. Usually sometimes he films with the phone, with this and that, but the storytelling is amazing. What do you think is the success of this video?
I think the storytelling was fantastic, right? It's you watch it and it's super entertaining, and you watch it till the end, and then you actually look for another one.
Yeah,
that's his success actually.
No. He's really amazing, and I'm glad that we have this opportunity to talk about him because he really changed the way people do vlogging on YouTube, and it's good. The synapse it happened, like he was traveling. Google and people at Google were at the level of their jobs, and saying hey, you have to use this opportunity, and it was, as you said, it was how they say when we go to the next class, of
an upgrade. It was just an upgrade from business. Yeah.
It was upgrade, and he was really passionate about it because he really likes traveling, and I remember when that video was released, and
he was the first one. Later there's other people who've now copied the concept. They then started testing all other airlines first in business class and having videos, but he was really the first one to create a great video out of that experience. So.
And this is what this country likes about, first,
Absolutely.
to be first, the fastest, and the Jetman was also amazing video with the A380 in the air and Jetman around it.
It was very carefully planned. The airspace was closed for a while over Dubai so there was only an A380 and then the Learjet filming and then the Jetman in the air. And every move was planned. It took a long time to prepare for that video.
Yeah, but at the end, it was really a magnificent video of...
and had huge view numbers as well. I don't know what it's up to now, but it's also in the...
Shall we check? Yeah.
Yeah.
Dubai Jetman A380 video, Emirates, hello Jetman, and 31 million.
Yeah, it's also a
amazing
good number.
Yeah. But and of course, not to mention Jennifer Aniston and other hero ads that you had. Yeah. And then there was one really nice hub content. If we have this pyramid of hero hub help content from YouTube, there was interesting hub content.
We had a campaign where we sent
cabin crew
different personas, mostly cabin crews, pursers. To different places, either as a foodie or as an adventurer or as a couple. And they took GoPros, created a lot of content, and that was then them sort of mixed together into a really nice
campaign.
And
every week we had a new story from another location.
Yeah.
Interesting and very amazing way of communicating through videos, of course. And this is what we do also with this podcast.
Emirates marketing is really world class. That's definitely, now looking back and looking, again at the quality there, the quality of the people and the ideas, it's fantastic.
Yeah, this is the usual question when talking about business. People ask why you're doing it, and from time to time, I think it's good to ask yourself that question, especially when some troubles or good times come in. Why am I doing this? So let's talk about Education Perfect. Why you are doing it?
Well, Education Perfect, I came across them last year.
It was a big change for you, I would say.
A big change, definitely. It was a change of industry because I had been in travel for many years. And education, I'd never worked in education, although my mom is a teacher, so there's a bit of exposure to education. But I came across the product that my son is actually using them at the school here in Dubai. And I liked the product, and I talked then to the management team. I really liked the management team. And I really liked the culture of the company. They had really good values, a good mission statement, and a very good energy, sort of very ambitious, very fast pace. And for me, I believe in that recipe of great product, great team, great culture. And for me, it ticked all these three boxes. And then I resigned from Emirates, which was a tough decision, to be honest.
Shocking decision for some of your family members, yeah?
Yeah, my kids weren't very happy to leave, that I'm leaving Emirates, and, I'm leaving all of our travel benefits, and, they can fly business class, and that's their first question. So we can't fly anymore in business class? I said, no.
And that business class is very important when you are 6 or 8, years
Absolutely,
old. That's essential. But yeah, how was the reaction?
For life.
Yes, and how was the reaction of your brother, or your reaction, to this change? Because coming from the corporation with, as you said, 100,000 employees to a company which has 200.
200 and a very highly distributed team. So we have 20 people in Singapore, we have 5 in Dubai, we have about 100 in New Zealand, and about 70 in Australia. And at the moment we're hiring a couple of people in Europe. We have just hired 2 people in the US. I just have hired someone in Hong Kong. So we're adding now sort of people more in international locations.
Yeah. You have a global hiring process, which is a trend now. Everybody's hiring globally, it doesn't matter where everybody sits.
And it's all virtual, right? I mean, I started now working for the company, and I haven't met anybody in person except for the people who live in Dubai, which is interesting, right? Yeah. It's our CEO lives in New Zealand, and then the management team, our CTO lives in Sydney. I live in Dubai. Yeah. My team is spread over New Zealand, Australia, Singapore, Hong Kong, the UAE, and Europe. So it's a very highly distributed team, but it's working well. It's
well-oiled machine.
Everybody is shares the same ambition and the same energy, and people are enjoying it.
And what is basically the product of? How do you describe in a kind of elevator pitch the Education Perfect?
We are a complete learning and teaching toolkit for teachers. So effectively, we sell to schools, and we enable teachers to leverage technology and data, and that saves them a lot of time, and it enables them to, rather than work on admin tasks, they can focus on kids. They can focus on the kids that need more support, the kids that need more challenge, and understand individual children and learners much, much better, because we provide a lot of learning data and insights and reports for teachers.
Okay, and how many users, schools, the children you have in your system? How do you count?
We have
success?
Now more than 1 million students on the platform, and we have more than 60,000 teachers using the platform. So it's a good scale.
Good scale.
We're now in 50 countries. But our main markets still remain Australia and New Zealand.
60 countries, 1 million users, and how COVID affected your business? Because as a parent, I see the gaps all around in education system, not only with my kids, but all around switching to whole or virtual or blended system, How did it work for you? Because you started Education Perfect at the beginning of pandemic or something like that.
Well, the company was actually started 2007 already, so it's not a new company.
You started.
But I started. I started 3 months ago with Education Perfect, and for us, last year was a huge year. Last year we actually offered Education Perfect for free. To schools at the start of the pandemic, and had a lot of schools then, because everybody was forced to go to remote learning, right? And many schools weren't prepared for that. Yeah. So we had a lot of uptake last year as well. We had record numbers of students and schools using the platform. But since our platform is cloud-based, it totally scaled up 2, 3, 4x. So we didn't have any problems there. And I think last year was a big change for education. Last year, it accelerated a lot of change in schools. Because before there was some teachers embracing technology and leveraging data, and a lot of teachers weren't so much. But through COVID now, everybody was exposed to Google Classroom and Microsoft Teams and more remote ways and blended ways of learning. And that's, I think, is overall positive. It was quite messy, I think, for many schools. And I think for students, it was not positive the last 12 months. Yeah. There's actually a study by McKinsey showing that there was a significant learning loss in the last 12 months globally. Because
where do I sign in? Count one vote more for that.
Yeah, it's
really tough.
The schools weren't really ready for that sort of drastic switch. But we fundamentally believe that it's all about teachers. Like, and in the future, again, learning will continue to be about teachers, and blending classroom learning with online learning in a very efficient way. And there's a lot of room to help teachers save time and focus more on their kids. And technology and data are the two big drivers there.
We discussed a little bit about edutech startups, and usually they focus on digitizing the books, digitizing the content, and so on. But you are more focused on the platform itself.
Yeah, there's a lot of education companies who try to be tech companies. I would say we are a tech company in education, and there is a difference in that. So we have quite a large engineering team, we have a large product team, we have a data and analytics team, and we do create a lot of content. So we have also about 45 internal staff, and then we also have external contractors creating teaching resources and lessons. But we see ourselves as a toolkit. So we combine basically tools for teachers, content for teachers, and then data insights. And it's one integrated solution for teachers. As someone who's new to education, I see it a bit like Apple, where Apple is all integrated and easy, and people pay a premium for Apple because it looks good, but it also works. It's different. It's simple, and we are very similar to that.
Intuitive,
There are a lot of textbook companies who now digitize their books. But are they experts in digital teaching resources? Not really, because they're experts in textbooks, right? And so we just take a very different approach to overall learning and teaching. And the platform was developed over 10 years, literally by teachers and with teachers. So it was the two founders, they spent a lot of times in the early years just in schools, observing teachers, testing features, and that culture is still in the company. That there's an obsession about user experience and how to help teachers more. And we get a lot of feedback from teachers and ideas for new features and how to make their life even easier. And we incorporate that constantly in new releases.
Yeah, you're like a platform for teachers. I saw the video you have there. Like there are some pre-prepared lessons and stuff that the teachers can use and maybe modify for their.
That's right.
Their learning.
We have about 40,000 pre-built lessons for all subjects. So for math, for science, for English, for languages. So in our platform, students can learn Arabic, English, French, German, Chinese. We also now have ventured into DigiTech. So we also have DigiTech. We have done a partnership with the Coding Academy because we also really see the future in for kids to learn how to code. So we are a holistic teaching and learning platform that covers all subjects, and it really prepares kids for the 21st century.
So many changes, and I think that how your team is reacting on, because you have to be up to date, like in big corporations, there are not too many, let's say, changes, you cannot make, you get the job there, 20 years later you retire, and that was your journey, everything is moving quite slow in this, even in the scale up, not to mention startup, everything is much more, I would say, hectic or much more dynamic, let's say. How your team is reacting to all of those changes?
Most people love that culture of, a new challenge every day. There's a lot of achievements and a lot of successes on a weekly, monthly basis. What's very similar between Emirates and Education Perfect is that both products are really well liked by the users. So customers love Emirates, right? They love the product.
Of course.
And for us, teachers also love us. So we did, last year we did a big brand survey and a big study round to measure our net promoter score or customer satisfaction score. And we had incredibly high numbers. And that's very rewarding. I mean, from the 200 people that work for us, we have about 25% are actually former teachers.
Oh.
And for them to see that they're helping schools and they're helping other teachers, to spend less time on admin tasks and really focus much more on individual learning and the kids, very rewarding.
Yeah, and your role is CMO in.
I'm a chief sales and marketing officer.
Sales and marketing,
I'm there's many job titles these days: chief revenue officer, chief growth officer, chief marketing officer. But ultimately, I'm in charge of sales and marketing.
Sales and marketing. And what are your goals? Whatever you can share, of course, will be irrespective of that. But what are your goals for the next period, let's say, of time globally?
So we have grown the last 3 years about 40% our sales, and about 35% our user numbers, our students. So it's a high growth business, and the business wants to continue that. So for me, growth is a big topic. I'm very focused on building the team, scaling up resources, understanding which markets are our next big growth markets. And then I'm very people focused. I really believe that if you hire talent, and I spend a lot of time evaluating people and looking for the next stars, the next people that really make a big difference.
Yes. How do you do that? You have your own hiring team, or the process? How do you find talents globally?
We tap into a lot into networks. So friends, colleagues, former colleagues. We do use recruiters as well. And we have one person internally who's sort of helps with recruitment, but it's very hands-on. A lot of the recruitment I'm very involved in, and then we typically do lots of rounds of interviews and get different opinions from different peoples to really make sure we hire the right person. So culture fit is super important to us.
Oh, that's I think that's the main thing, because everything else will change, but the culture is something that is staying all the time,
Absolutely.
As you said, I think you mentioned, company and the direction and the number of, let's say, users grew, but the company culture is the same, like the founders made it.
Yeah, the company culture is definitely still very obsessed about teachers, obsessed about the users, very lean. We're definitely quite a bootstrapped business. We are profitable, so we don't burn any cash. So for us, growth is very positive because we can grow while actually generating sustainable. We don't need to raise more money because we're actually generating a profit every year.
Yeah. That's the good thing to hear. Usually with startups, it's all about growth. And there is the revenue is, they say if you have a profit, you're not growing fast enough. They say you're not like investing. Okay, so what do you think the future of education in how the education will change in the future? So how do you see the education ecosystem changing in the future?
Yeah, I'm hoping for two big changes in education. One is around equitable access to education, that there's an even distribution of opportunities in education, that whether it's in a single country or it's in a region or it's worldwide, that more children have the opportunity to actually access quality education, and that includes technology as well.
Yeah.
But in many remote schools, for example, or also in a lot of the emerging countries, there's still, access to devices, for example, laptops or tablets is still limited. High-speed Wi-Fi in schools is still limited. In Dubai, we'll be very lucky.
Yeah.
The schools have incredible infrastructure. Same in Singapore. And COVID has helped definitely with infrastructure investment. For example, Japan. In Japan, they did a deal with Apple to equip all government schools with iPads.
Oh.
Was a huge deal for Apple. Yeah. And in many countries now, governments have procured, equipment for schools, and the schools have upgraded their Wi-Fi connections. So that also has created the opportunity for, much better tech and data enablement in schools.
Yeah. Satya Nadella said in the first 2 months of pandemic, we experienced 2 years digital transformation. The things are happening. You are on a tech side and education side, something that is that always has to stay agile because the times are changing pretty fast and so on.
But
Alex,
for us, it's important, because we are a SaaS business. So if a school doesn't have if the students don't have devices or the school doesn't have Wi-Fi, our model doesn't really work. So
one of the key things for each and every, not only startups but the company, they say it's timing.
yeah,
If you did this, I don't know, like the same way you're doing it now, 10 years ago wouldn't be a success, but now is now. And
it's actually one of my favorite quotes is there's nothing more powerful in the world than an idea whose time has come.
Oh.
It's very true in many ways.
Yes.
You can have a fantastic idea, but if you're 10 years too early, you have to just be very persistent. And some people, if you look at Jeff Bezos, he started Amazon in 1999 and just kept going.
Yeah.
It was too early for that, but he just had the perseverance to
kept going, and I think kept pivoting, because if we are throwing names, like Mark Zuckerberg, we cannot avoid him. The conclusion of really thick book on Facebook effect, is that the Facebook is where it is because it was open to change.
Yeah.
It was open to always improve. It was open to pivot. It was always to adapt to the new times. And this is something.
Buy a few competitors on the way. Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
For peanuts now. And not buy some of them like Snapchat or something like that. Anyhow, Alex, did we miss something on this?
I think it was good.
We spoke about so many changes. But I like your what you said about this poet. Can you repeat it once more, please?
There's nothing more powerful than an idea whose time has come.
Yes. Thank you very much for being in the podcast, and I think we got people inspired, and you got me inspired too. So thank you very much for that.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.